Hi, thanks for joining us. Today I'm going to be making this Christmas DIY scroll and it's actually pretty easy. Just a little cumbersome due to the size, but fairly easy to make. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do for this scroll is to roll it out, and the only place I have to roll it out that's big enough is my kitchen table. So that's where we're going to start with this one. I have all kinds of like odd and end wacky things holding the corners down to keep it from rolling up. So I've got it rolled out, secured with some items, and then all I'm trying to do is center up my pattern on there. And let me know if you all want a tutorial on making this pattern. I did this oversized pattern with just my printer and some paper and using my Silhouette Cameo to resize it to print. So if you all want a pattern, know how I did the pattern, let me know and I will do a tutorial on that as well. Alright, you all would think this is the first craft project I've ever done, and it is not, but I have a 2-year-old and I don't get to craft like I used to, so I don't remember to do things immediately. But I put my tracing paper under here, and it's just carbon tracing paper. I got it off Amazon in the 9x13 size, and I put it under there and realized, hey, my template was going to slide around, which, like, duh, I've done enough art projects, I ought to know that, but yeah. It's just been too long and I wasn't thinking. So what I did is I got some Scotch tape because that's what I had on hand, quick and easy. And you're going to see that coming up right here. And I rubbed it against my shirt to pick up some lint. And all that does is ensure that when I put that piece of tape on the corners of my template, when I peel it back up, it doesn't rip the craft paper to shreds. I learned that trick in a high school art class more years ago than I'm definitely willing to admit, but it's come in handy over the years to know that trick to do for different art projects. Anytime you need to tape something in place, it's a great trick to have in your toolkit. Once I got the tape down, you can see me putting the last piece in the corner there. I only did 2 pieces. And once I got the tape down, I started tracing. The design actually took me a little while to trace because I had to move the paper around. I had to make sure my template stayed in place, and plus I wanted to take my time. And it didn't help that my kitchen table has grooves in it, so I was going over those bumps as well. My kitchen table is the only place that I had big enough to lay this out other than the floor, and let's face it, with a 2-year-old in the house, that was not an ideal option whatsoever. Alright, I am going to speed you up here. This tracing took quite a while to do, so I'm going to speed that up and speed you through it a little bit. When I lifted up my template to check and make sure it was all traced and looked right and everything, I discovered I had missed the first O in comfort. I don't know how I managed to do that, but I did. So I had to try to line the template back up over where I had it and trace that O back in. And somehow I still ended off a little bit, but it worked. And you'll be viewing this scroll from a distance for what I'm going to do with it. So it'll be okay. It'll all work out in the end, and you'll see that. And because the font isn't a perfect squared off font, it's got a little whimsy to it itself. I think I was able to hide the mistake a little bit better than if it had been, a fancy, very straight, very linear sort of font. Now that my design is down and finally all traced, I'm just going to go back in with my Sharpie marker. And this is just a plain old regular Sharpie. And this is what's going to make the scroll end up coming to life and give it that extra depth that you need. I considered painting it, but I knew I wouldn't have as much control with a paintbrush. And there was more of a chance it would end up looking sloppy. And I make enough mistakes on my own. I didn't want a chance it ended up even sloppier. So that's all I'm doing is tracing the letters and going back in and neatly coloring them in with a Sharpie. And here is what that looks like, all colored in with a Sharpie. It really does make such a difference. And now you can see I've got my scroll rolled back out. It's a little later in the day. I had to come back to it, and I've even got the dog treats holding down the scroll. We improvise in this household. So I'm rolling down the top, and all I'm doing is using my hot glue gun to tack it down. It was really a fine line of getting it in there and not smushing the rolled edge down because I didn't want it flattened. I still wanted it to look rolled, and then also making sure I had enough glue, but not so much that I couldn't unroll it if I made a mistake, because I knew I would make a mistake, and I did a couple times. It was harder than I expected for me to get that rolled down straight. I just, if it's a straight line, I'm going to struggle with it. So I did. You can see me just working on the top and bottom of the scroll here. Once I'm glued down, I'm running my dowel rod, and I just picked it up at Hobby Lobby. It's like a 3-foot dowel rod, and I think my scroll is 30 inches wide, I believe. It's approximately that. But I just run it through, and I have some jute string I'm going to tie on the ends, and that's all it really takes to finish up the scroll. I wasn't exactly sure how long it needed to be, so you'll see me playing with the length and measuring it out here a little bit. All right, here's the finished product. I really like the way it came out. I'll fix the greenery closer to Christmas. This was just kind of to see, get an idea of what it was going to look like. But anyway, here you go. Thanks for watching. Bye.